Welcome to Haunt Weekly.
Hello, everyone. I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And this is Haunt Weekly, a weekly podcast for the haunted attraction entertainment community. I went full hillbilly. Community, whether you're an actor, owner, or just plain aficionado, we aim to be a podcast for you. My southern roots really just leapt out there. I don't know what that was about. I sounded like my family. But anyways, this week we are coming at you with a dead end. Specifically, 5 dead ends.
Yeah.
5 dead ends the haunted attraction industry is driving right the fuck into right now. And we're going to not just be negative Nancy's today, we're also going to offer some alternatives and some ways maybe to get out of them. So that should be pretty useful. However, if that's not your jam, believe me, we have a wide variety of episodes. We've interviewed Jake's Palace like 8 billion times. We've interviewed lots of awesome people. Feel free to go check out any of those. HauntWeekly.com, Haunt Weekly on Twitter, and Haunt Weekly on Facebook. YouTube.com/HauntWeekly is the YouTube channel. We also get it wherever you get your podcast from. Apple Podcasts, Google Play, Stitcher, whatever. We're everywhere. Mm-hmm. All right, well, before we begin this week, we have to do a housekeeping note.
Yeah, you may notice it's on Monday.
We're publishing on Tuesday. We're going to backdate it to Monday, and that's just to keep the calendar consistency when you look at it. I'm a little OCD about those things.
Yeah.
But we're publishing on a Tuesday, and I do know it. And there's a reason for that. Usually what we do here is we work on the notes over the weekend. The notes are like an ongoing process, oftentimes very collaborative. Sometimes just one of us curls up like a hobbit in a corner and types them.
Yeah.
It can go either way, really.
Yeah.
It happens both ways. This one, I actually did the notes last week, right after we recorded. I had this idea like right after we finished recording last week, and I said, I got to get on this. I got to get some of this out.
Yeah.
And got about 2/3 of the way done before we even published that episode, the previous episode. But we usually record on Sunday evening, and then I edit and upload Monday afternoon.
Right.
Sunday evening, we had a event. We went to go see Lewis Black at the Fillmore, and whoever the fuck is booking Lewis Black needs a kick in the ass. They need something. Because here's the thing. They booked Lewis Black to perform at the Fillmore. For those who don't know, Fillmore is on Canal Street, and Canal Street is right at the edge of it's Main Street in New Orleans.
Yeah, it's right on the edge of the French Quarter.
It technically divides the French Quarter and what we call the Central Business District.
Yeah.
So basically, when you're standing at the Fillmore, you can throw a rock and hit the French Quarter without being very athletic.
Yes.
You don't need a very good cannon to do this. I could probably do it. So yeah, you can throw a rock and hit the French Quarter. They booked him for April 16th, which is the last day of French Quarter Fest, when the whole French Quarter is shut down as both locals and tourists are doing this live music festival that is sprinkled like pixie dust all throughout the fucking French Quarter.
Yeah, and it's a free festival, so a lot of people go to it.
A lot. Basically, everything like within a mile radius of the French Quarter, or I'd say maybe like half a mile, is just fucking toxic. You can't get in, you can't get out.
And the city shut down a lot of streets, so that you
literally couldn't get to it. Yeah, our Uber driver had to tell some people, hey, I can't get to you. There's no way for me to get a car down there.
Yeah.
And he was being totally honest and he's like, oh, we can't walk that far. I'm like, bitch, it's 4 blocks. Jesus fucking Christ.
Yeah.
Anyways, that's neither here nor there. Poor Uber driver, poor ladies that apparently can't walk 4 blocks. I think I might have an idea why. But anywho, they booked him for that, so we didn't get home until midnight.
Yeah.
Yeah, booking that date was so stupid. I saw the date before I bought the tickets, and I went, April, French Quarter Fest is that month. Nah, they wouldn't be that dumb to book it in the middle of French Quarter Fest.
I forgot that French Quarter Fest
I always remember
April.
It's in April sometime. I always remember it's April.
Should.
I should, because every once in a while we get the hunkering to go down to the French Quarter and play tourist for a day. And you don't want to do that during French Quarter Fest.
No, I used to do it a long time ago.
Oh yeah, we used to do festivals like fairly regularly.
Yeah.
But now we're old. I used to photograph festivals fairly regularly.
Yeah.
No, now we're old.
Yeah, that was a nice place to go and just take photos of all the local musicians and some big names that they have.
Yeah, and you could usually get fairly close to the stage. Even though it was crowded the way it's laid out,
Yeah.
you actually could, as a photographer, get reasonably close.
Yeah, I actually stopped because they stopped letting professional cameras in for free.
Yeah, I remember that. Bummer.
Yeah.
Especially considering, you weren't really doing a business out of it.
No.
Not that stuff. That was more your hobby. You did have a professional camera, and you do have a professional camera, but that was for the actual event thing that you were doing where you paid to do it at that time.
Yeah.
But anyways, so that was our Sunday night. We were fucked on that one. So we said, okay, we don't record. Monday, I had jury duty.
Yep.
Now, the way jury duty has gone for pretty much everyone in this household is we show up, spend a couple hours there, pretend to do some work in the jury pool room, and then get sent home right around lunch.
Yeah.
So I figured that's what would happen to me, most likely. It's been the pattern.
Right.
No big deal. We'll come home. We'll record in the afternoon because you were working from home that day. You'd moved your work from home today so I could have the car.
Yep.
And I would simply come home early. We'd record, then upload. No problems.
Yes.
You wouldn't even notice.
Yeah.
That we were a day late recording. You wouldn't even notice. It's going to be great. But then I got sucked into a jury pool for a jury I was not picked for, I would like to make clear, where I had to spend 7.5 hours participating in jury questioning. In one room with only a 3-inch sandwich for sustenance, no drinks, no other food.
Mm-hmm.
So by the time I came home, you weren't going to get me at my best.
No.
Between having seen Lewis Black the night before and experiencing that the next day, my Lewis Black rage meter was like flying off the handle. I was prepared to fucking go off. It might have been very entertaining, but it would not have been very productive.
Yeah.
So, anyways.
Yes, and the reason that you had to take our car is because Ellie also left Sunday to go up for our son-in-law's, Shawnee's, wedding.
Yeah,
that happened yesterday.
He got the official wedding done yesterday. They're going to have the actual ceremony sometime down the road, they said.
Yeah.
I don't know if they actually will or won't. They're planning on it, though. But basically, since it was a courthouse wedding, like 3 people and a goat could attend. And apparently, even with only, like, the most absolute and literal of family,
yeah,
it was super tight in there.
Yeah, but congratulations to Shawnee and Sid.
Yep.
That's great news. So happy for you.
Yeah, so happy. Ellie should be returning to New Orleans in a couple of hours from this recording.
Yeah.
So anyways, that is why we're late. I'm sorry. It was just a confluence of factors came together to make this pretty much impossible. But thank you for your patience, and hopefully this episode will be better for it. On that note, though, every week we do ask a question of the week. Mm-hmm. So what was last week's question of the week, Crystal? I forgot.
Roughly what percentage of your haunt do you change every year?
We actually got a pretty wide sampling of the percentages. It seems like there's no consistency.
It's like 0 to 100.
Like everybody, like, yeah, we don't change. Some people say we don't change nothing. Yeah. And some people are like, oh, we change everything. So anyways, speaking of change everything.
Yeah, we're starting with Sam Farrell, who says 100% completely new theme each year and 4 different routing options.
He talked about it. Basically what they do is they have ways to change the routing. They have 4 different routing paths they can make it into. Yeah. I thought that was a really slick idea.
It is. That would definitely help with keeping with crowd control.
And keeping things a little more fresh.
Yeah.
I think that is a neat idea, so I might be looking into it. I mean, we're kind of implementing that here this year, but kind of not. It's a little complicated. Anyways, Max Schick says 25 to 75% only changes in aesthetic. They do not change the layout. You know, for a pro haunt, I completely understand that because changing the layout means getting new permits. Yep. And that fucks a lot of things up. So really I feel you.
Yeah. Portals of Fear said normally 25%, though for the 5th anniversary, they're going to do 75%. Close to it.
Yep. That's it. So I think that's really cool. This week's question of the week is if you could undo one haunt mistake from your past, haunt-related mistake, what would it be? And I have thought about this a lot, and I have not come up with a good answer. There are times that I think Bernie was not exactly the best Bernie he could have been. And that I'm a little sad about that when I think about it. But, I mean, honestly, you do this long enough, you're going to have those moments, man. You got to, you know what I mean? We're only human. I think the one mistake I would have found a way to fix would have been to find a way to, I would have done the first year very differently in terms of theming and in terms of things like that. Now, look, I'm not blaming 2005 me for the way that first year was. We were in the aftermath of Hurricane Katrina. We literally came up with the idea 2 weeks before Halloween. We had no equipment, no materials, and very limited stuff on hand that could be used. But I think it would have been nicer to put a little more time into it, have a theme unique to us, and have stuff that we can build off of. Because that would have given us a multi-year head start. Because we didn't really start reusing stuff till 2007 when we moved to this location, and we had to move here. You know, I think with a 2-year extra head start on stuff we were reusing, it would have been very interesting. I know the circumstances make that impossible, but it still feels like a mistake to not jump in on it sooner.
Okay, that's like a big, if you could change everything in history.
Well, yeah, we got to change hurricanes. But no, it's also the main thing there is, I wish we hadn't come up with the idea like 2 weeks before we wanted to execute it.
Yeah.
And I know the reason we came up with the idea when we did was because Hurricane Katrina, we're trying to find things for the kids to do on Halloween, and we basically looked at each other, why don't we be the solution, not the problem?
Yeah.
And that's kind of a thing we do a lot. And so, yeah, I mean, that's how we started. I just kind of wish that the start had been less impulsive and more well thought out to set us up for a longer run. But we didn't know this was going to be a 2-year thing, let alone a 18-year thing.
Yeah.
We didn't know. So that's what I'm talking about. I would like to have planned the earlier years with more of that preparation for laying down some groundwork.
Well, in that same preparation from groundwork, I wish that we would have gotten the better mask for you sooner.
Yeah.
But that was financial difficulties. But no, I think that of the things that I could have controlled, there are 2 things that come to mind, and one is particularly horrifying when I look back. Is the damn guillotine door exit that we did. Because we had someone, you would go out the exit and you would enter a small room and you'd pull a handle to leave, and it would trigger this really heavy metal guillotine that was behind the door, so it's completely safe from that perspective, but you were basically in a locked room.
Yeah.
And we had someone on the actual door that let you out.
Yeah.
We've learned a lot about safety since then, and I am just really, really glad that nothing tragic happened.
That was a cringeworthy idea. That was one of the early ones.
Yeah, that was like 2nd or 3rd year.
Here at this location. Yeah. And that's one of the things. If we had been better positioned to build from 2005, and I said, and put more thought into how we were going to grow this. Because we had the Star Trek problem of we never expected this to be a fucking canon. And it turned into one.
Yeah.
And now we're going back and trying to retcon all the shit we did in the early years. But yeah, that was a terrible one. I agree with that. That was a bad mistake. What's another? Yeah, I said he had 2.
Yeah, the other one was, I think that in the beginning, we had I think we could have done more to keep some of the actors that we've lost over the years. Yeah. That were really good asset to
I agree with that.
To the haunt. And I feel sad about that from time to time.
I do too. We both have our own mental health issues and our own quirks and weirdness. We're not always the best at keeping in contact with people, is what it comes down to. So when we sit here and tell you in all those episodes about you need to keep in contact with your actors, you need to do that, we're definitely having a do as we say, not as we do moment.
Yeah, although we are better.
We are much better.
One of our actors is now part of our craft group and comes every Wednesday.
Yeah. The other polycule is all in.
Yeah.
We've done a lot better.
Yeah, but basically we have to schedule things, and then it becomes a habit.
All right.
But,
okay, those are 2 valid points. But what were yours? Let us know at hauntweekly.com, hauntweekly on Twitter, hauntweekly on Facebook, and youtube.com/hauntweekly. Send an email, leave a comment. We get them all. Okay, the work we did on our haunt this week was nothing. The weekend was borked. Between Ellie leaving, Lewis Black, and my jury duty, when jury duty meeting, I had to get up like 2 hours earlier than I normally would.
Mm-hmm.
Everything was borked. Yeah, it sucked.
Yeah.
You already know why that happened, roughly. But anyways, like all businesses, industries, the haunted attraction industry is looking to expand. However, there's been a few ideas that might be classified as stinkers, or maybe they weren't stinkers at one point, but they have been pushed well past the point of good smelling, we'll say. And basically, currently, the haunt industry is following some dark paths, where if we keep pushing in this direction, it's not going to end well. So, to that end, there are 5 dead ends that the haunted attraction industry is walking into right now, and alternatives to kind of capturing the good parts of the idea while not literally beating it into the goddamn ground.
Yeah.
So, idea 1, escape rooms.
Mm-hmm.
We have harped on this a lot.
Yeah, I think that when they first came out and started popping up absolutely everywhere, we said it was a fad.
Yeah. We called it way early in the game. And in fact, I remember CBS had that weird Sunday night sitcom series where like 4 different fucking episodes of different sitcoms all in one night featured escape rooms.
Yes, whenever you get that much saturation in the public eye, it's going to go away.
In fact, I think we said on this podcast
we did.
That was the high water mark. It's down, the turtle's all the way down from here when it comes to escape rooms. It's over. It's going to be on the downhill slope. And we were right. I mean, we don't often I don't know how to take a victory lap on this podcast. I don't think we've had one like this.
Yeah.
We nailed this one.
Yeah, and the pandemic didn't help at
all. Yeah, the fad was over before the pandemic. Yeah. We'll be realistic. 2019, things were already looking all
Mm-hmm.
But the pandemic was definitely a trip to Dick Kick City for the industry. And basically, this is not a growth market right now. In fact, according to the information we have, we talked about it previously, it's a severe retraction. Go basically back to our Trans World one, where we talked about this a lot.
Yeah, I talked about meeting a escape room owner who's building a haunt because the escape room doesn't get enough business.
Yeah. Yeah, the Trans World episode really has a lot of info on this, but this is not a growth market. It's in retraction. Something like 10% of escape rooms that were open, I think they're talking in 2021, were to close in 2022. It's bad. It's rough. It's a tough market. And like I said in the Trans World episode, the problem is if you want to run a successful escape room year round, you either need a huge population. And by huge population, I'm talking New York, I'm talking Los Angeles, I'm talking Chicago maybe. I'm talking big cities. St. Louis, New Orleans, these are probably too small. Though they both might work for other reasons we'll get into.
Yeah.
But they're too small for the local population alone to sustain an escape room. Just the way it is. Because the other option is you can have a rotating audience. You could be like Galveston, which doesn't have a high population,
right? But
has a huge tourism population.
Yeah, and that's why New Orleans gets back on the list for possible because we are a tourist destination.
And that's why there are some fucking escape rooms in the French Quarter and the CBD where the tourists roam.
Yeah,
and that actually makes a degree of sense. Only one of them I think is really New Orleans themed, which I find kind of weird because if I plop down in New Orleans, like from somewhere else, I'd be like, well, I want to do the New Orleans things.
Yeah.
When we've done that before in cities.
Yeah, we have. And we've played pretty much every escape room within like a 50-mile
We might need to do an update check to see if we've missed anyone. But we played at least one room at every place. I would say that. Like I know there's some rooms we haven't done, like the one in the French Quarter.
One of the ones.
But we weren't blown away by the first one we went, so we didn't make a huge effort to go back. Because it is a lot of headache to get to the French Quarter if you're a local.
Yeah.
But yeah, this is not a growth market. There are very few places to do it. Like Rise is the example I keep throwing out. They built some amazing escape rooms. They really did. Spellbound, I'm so glad the escape rooms were picked up by other places. Because Spellbound was one of my favorite escape rooms of all time. I mean, between it and Pirate Bay one, the Pirate Cove one, and 13th Gate. it's torn because like the pirate one was way more spectacle, way bigger, way more moment. But as far as puzzles and creativity of puzzles go, I definitely think Spellbound was better.
Yeah.
So it's like, what do you want out of your escape room? Do you want the moment or do you want the thinky moments? You know?
I was actually talking about escape rooms today.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Well, so our director of simulation, I work in a nursing department, has built escape room puzzles inside the simulation lab. So you have to find codes and numbers and weigh things out of the mannequins that are very realistic human mannequins.
Wow.
Yeah.
I can't tell how that's fucked up or brilliant.
It's great. I want to do it so bad. I don't have the knowledge to play that game, though.
I am pretty sure they could help you, though, get the knowledge you needed for those puzzles. But still, that is interesting. But yeah, but Rise, the escape rooms of Rise closed because they're in Tickfall, Louisiana.
Yeah.
There's not enough population in the short drive around there to get it. And tourists are not coming from the French Quarter to the North Shore that much. Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, it's a 90-minute drive. And there's no public transit to get from A to B. So, yeah, they were in a place that just could not sustain those rooms. So you need a large population, or you need a large tourism population, or you need a large tourism bank. You know. Now, the alternative that I came up with is something we saw a lot at Transworld too, and that was the mini escape games, things to do either in line or while waiting.
Exactly.
I liked those.
Yeah.
5-minute escapes, public escape games like the table one we saw that was really cool.
Yeah, little puzzles.
Yeah, things like that. Give people shit to do and give people reasons to give you money, but don't lock them in a room for 60 minutes.
Exactly.
Item number 2.
Virtual reality.
Yeah, another Transworld lesson.
We were just talking about this.
Yeah. Actually, I need to make a correction from the last episode.
Yeah.
Because it turns out the numbers I quoted, at least according to what I heard on Linus Tech Tips, is actually worse than I thought. Now, last time around, we had mentioned that 29% of teens own some kind of VR. Mm-hmm. And then we said that 4% of teens use it daily. That number was wrong. It's 4%, but it's 4% of the 29%. The percentage of teens actively using VR daily is right around 1%.
Yeah, that's not a good sign.
Especially when 29% fucking own it.
Yeah, because, I mean, the industry targets teens to, like, mid-20s. That's like our sweet spot.
Yeah.
And if they aren't using it, well, why are you buying it?
Here's the thing. Like, we offer experiences in this industry.
Yeah.
Our goal is to provide experiences you can't get anywhere else.
We want to offer you reality versus virtual.
No, not even that. No.
I know.
But basically where I'm getting at is this. If 29% of teens own it, that doesn't make VR super special. Mm-hmm. And if only 4% of those teens are actually playing it daily, and it was only like 10% were doing it weekly or something, it didn't go up much higher.
It didn't.
If only 10% are going up, like 10% or whatever, are doing it weekly, that means that they're not so engaged in it that they want to be constantly doing it or are going to pay for new VR experiences. It's both very common and easily accessible, so not special to haunts, and not something that they're super interested in doing.
Yeah.
That's a bad problem. Now, I will make an argument in favor real fast, and that is I did look into it. Getting a VR setup actually is way less expensive than I thought it would be. According to one site, a couple of sites I was on, it was around $15,000 per VR pod. And that gets you the computer, the equipment, access to the games. Mm-hmm. You get a library of games you can play, and the actual like structure you put it all in.
Yeah.
Like it looks like the one I saw looked like a cubicle type thing. And you can get 1 pod, 2 pod, 3 pod, 4 pod, and it's $5,000 per pod, pretty much a flat rate.
15.
And so that makes it theoretically easy. If you charge $10 for a VR experience, you only need 1,500 people to break even. Until you actually pay the motherfucker that has to run that shit.
Yeah.
That needs an employee every second it's open to ensure the safety of the equipment, to ensure the safety of the customers, and to both, let people know when their time is done, disinfect shit, and do all the mundane stuff that has to be done.
Right.
So yeah, that makes it difficult to turn a profit. But there is an alternative that I really am fond of. Augmented reality. Jesus Christ. Think of a synonym for virtual. It begins with an A.
Yes.
No, augmented reality. Especially if you can do it on the devices the customer already has. You don't have to buy much in the way of equipment. The Zombie Army actually has a ghost hunt app, which we looked into adding at our haunt.
Yeah.
Because of how inexpensive it is.
Yeah.
It is that cheap that a cheesy little, quote unquote, cheesy little home haunt in Algiers, Louisiana could theoretically do it. I think this is something that's reachable by most haunts, big and large.
Yeah. Well, and I like the idea of like the augmented photos and things where you take a photo of yourself in front of a thing and like there's shit behind you didn't see.
Yeah.
You know, that kind of stuff. Because that's a memory that they can keep.
Yeah.
And
share
another
augmented
and
one.
tag you.
The marketing angle came in. But augmented reality in general, I think, is way more interesting for haunts because it is still a fairly unique experience. But it's on equipment everybody already has in their hands as long as it's both an iPhone and an Android app. Sorry about that. That's my fault. Yeah, and she mutes hers too because she
in case.
Just in case. Yeah, I'm the fuck up here this week. But anyways, what was I about? Augmented reality. As long as it's available on an Android and an iPhone app, pretty much anybody in line or showing up there is going to be able to take part in it if they want to. It is inexpensive to set up, and it can be either a free bonus to give customers a better experience, or perhaps a low-cost, activity very similar to those mini escape games.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I think there's good alternatives here, but I do think VR is a dead end. Which brings us to holiday events. All right. Look, and I can already see people throwing down their hat. They're impossible to please. Keep doing or shake it around.
Yes.
And then we do these holiday events, and they tell us the holiday events are a dead end. Well, yeah, I'm sorry. Holiday events might be a good stepping stone to doing more year-round stuff. I can see that. But there's only so many holidays where it makes sense. Christmas and Valentine's Day, obvious, easy choices. Yeah. Halfway to Halloween, cool. That's coming up for some places. But do we really want to do Haunted Easter? What about St. Patrick's Day or New Year's or July 4th?
Yeah, so I saw some pretty scary Easter bunnies.
So did I, but I don't think it's on purpose.
No. But I think you could have events around it, but not haunt themed around it.
But yeah, and the problem with it is a lot of these holidays have racial issues tinged with them, like St. Patrick's Day was. Easter is a very deep religious. I mean, Christmas is too, obviously, but Christmas is also a pop culture or pop phenomenon unto itself. It exists both as a religious holiday and just a commercial holiday. Mm-hmm. New Year's, do you want to open up a haunt on the drinkiest day of the year? I'm just asking. And July 4th, I mean, yeah, where does it end? Special events, the main thing about special events, they're supposed to be a great way to build FOMO. But there's a hard limit on how many of those you can do per year. And I think the alternative is to find other activities that you can do throughout the year, other seasons. And I think Darkwoods is kind of my champion of that idea.
In Natchitoches.
Darkwoods in Natchitoches, yes. Yeah. Sorry. Because they now do sleushing. Mm-hmm. They have trail hikes. They have movie nights. Basically, they're doing something pretty much every season. And they do a Christmas light display. And
they've rebranded themselves as Darkwoods Adventure Park. And they do photos with the Easter Bunny. And that is their biggest moneymaker, they said.
I had no idea that until they told us.
Yeah.
I mean, I was surprised. I thought the haunted attraction would be a much higher revenue. But yeah, they do a Christmas park thing, a Christmas light thing. They do have the haunted attraction. But, basically they've got something going on every season, but it's something different.
Yeah.
Just making a horror Christmas or a horror, Easter or whatever may not be the long-term winning strategy. Yeah. Especially because this is a dead end, and I think we've already reached about as far as we can go on spooky holidays, making holidays spooky.
Well, and you can't really do spooky holidays all year round, because then when are you going to work on your haunt?
Yeah,
that's the other problem.
When's tear down and rebuild going to happen?
Yeah.
Yeah, this is...
Because you're either, like, not changing anything, which, fine, that's a choice, or you're giving customers less of a show than you would during season.
Yeah.
But they're paying more for it, probably, because it's a special 1-night or 2-night event.
Yeah, and they're even if they aren't paying more in ticket, they're paying more in the effort needed to get there, not having convenient choices on when to go.
Yeah.
Because remember, every haunt visit is paid for with time and money. And so the time expense can be a lot higher with those haunts for visitors.
Yeah.
Especially at like holiday time, like at Christmas time, because people got shit to do at Christmas. Making time out to go to a haunted house can be difficult when you're also trying to juggle family obligations, work obligations, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah.
All right, our fourth dead end. Extreme haunts, blackout haunts, etc. This has been a trend for some time, of haunts getting edgier and edgier and edgier, with many of them going to offering full touch or quote-unquote extreme experiences. Some of these have special events where they do it. Some spell special glow stick necklaces or clips or something to indicate who consents to it. And some just literally change their haunt.
Yeah. Yeah, and, we've heard several problems with, like, the glow stick necklaces.
Yeah.
Like, those are... Because if you're in a group and some people have them and some people don't, then, the others...
You're not in a group much longer.
You're not in a group much longer. You could be,
separated.
And the people with the glowy shit they're going to get the best show.
They're going to get all the targeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're not only going to get the targeting, but also the people who didn't consent to the extreme behavior will still have to witness.
Right. And
that makes its own complexity there.
Yeah. And whenever you're doing haunt work, you've got to make... If you're in that situation, how much do you trust yourself to make those snap decisions, and how much do you trust everybody working for you to make snap decisions when you see a large group with some, indicator?
Yeah. But, I think there's so many logistical problems.
Yeah.
And, we're not even getting onto, the insurance issues and all that. But basically, the other thing is, more extreme does not equal scarier.
No.
We have been to several extreme haunts. In fact, there was one extreme haunt we went to. The scariest thing that happened in a haunt happened 20 feet the fuck away from me. It was the beautiful timing of the drop panel and the guy in the ceiling. It was just a well-executed scare.
Yeah.
People coming up and tuffing my hair and playing with it don't annoy me that much.
Yeah.
I don't know, woo, I'm playing with your shoulder. I'm like, yeah, whoop-de-doo.
Yeah.
I saw Lewis Black recently. People touched me on my shoulder there too on accident. What are we going to do?
Yeah, I would think that if you're going to do this, then I would set aside special nights for it and charge more for those nights.
Yeah. But the other problem is there's a ceiling to what we can do.
Yeah.
And the ceiling is both legal, ethical, and practical. There's only so much you can legally do, and I'm very sick and tired of hearing about, we have them sign a waiver.
Yeah.
Yeah, waivers don't do shit, buddy. You know what a waiver's called at a trial? Exhibit A, for the plaintiff.
Yeah.
I'm not even kidding, because you cannot sign away your right to not be assaulted. It's impossible. If you and I agree to have a 10-round boxing match, and after 4 rounds, I'd put down the glove and say, I don't feel like fighting anymore. You win. It's over. And you keep punching me. That's called assault.
Yeah.
That's just the way this works. So it creates legal issues, and so you can't go too far. Ethically, obviously ethics are a very individual thing, but ethically, I don't want to see people permanently damaged mentally or physically from a haunt. I don't want to see people temporarily damaged either.
Yeah.
So I don't want to damage people mentally or physically, but definitely not permanently. And it also has practical ones, because the more extreme you get, the more you mess with individual customers, the less throughput you have. And so therefore you are taking fewer customers, you have to charge way more, it gets problematic. So where does this end? Well, McCamey Manor is the obvious place it ends. I don't even call that a haunted attraction at this point.
No.
But yeah, being an extreme haunt hurts you legally, ethically, and practically. I think that is a dead end, and I think we've been competing on this for too long. A lot of haunts have been, not all, but some haunts have been competing on this for so long. We need to get some focus back and find ways to provide good quality, scary attractions to our customers and our visitors that can be done en masse, but still feel like special experiences to each customer.
Yeah.
And can churn some bodies through the door so you can make some fucking money.
Yeah, and for those of you out there who are saying, well, our customers are asking for it. They want us to do scarier. They want us to go harder on them. The customers don't know what they fucking want. Like, they really don't. Like, I have been around a lot of people, and they often are not as smart as you give them credit for.
And the other issue, I mean, Tim Cook of Apple famously said the customer doesn't know what they want.
Yeah.
I agree with Tim Cook. And me agreeing with Tim Cook is a pretty hard place for me to be in. Because even though I am an Apple user, I am not an Apple fanboy. I mean, I'm not worshiping the cult of Tim Cook.
Yeah.
No, but he was right about that point. The customer doesn't know what they want. You have to know what they want. That's your job.
Right. And oftentimes it's just the customer doesn't know what is even possible.
Yeah.
You know, you have all of these ideas. You've been exposed to the industry. You know what other haunts are doing. You know what's coming up and the good ideas and things. The customer has no clue.
Yeah. And a good example here is like, you don't make the roller coaster scarier by undoing some of the bolts.
Well,
you don't take a roller coaster and make it scary by removing random bolts from the damn frame wall. It make it scarier.
Yes, it definitely would.
But you don't do that. Because
especially, you know, if you grew up with parents that pointed out all the loose bolts shaken and not...
Even though those probably were perfectly fine.
Oh, yeah, they were fine.
But of course, your dad in the moment can convince you of anything. And I understand that. So, yeah, the alternative here, I think, is if you want to go that route and include some of that, the place to do it is in VIP and exclusive experiences that you offer on certain nights.
Yeah.
But focus your main nights on getting throughput, giving that good, unique experience to all customers. Mm-hmm. Focus on that the other nights. And the final thing that is a dead end, the competition to be the biggest.
Yeah.
This is a huge dead end for me. In 2021, the Fort Worth area haunt, The Cutting Edge, was named by Guinness as the largest haunted attraction in the world. They have an estimated 2,261 linear feet with an average 45 to 55 minute walkthrough. Now, I have a question there, because the average human just walking a casual pace, and I mean very casual here, will usually get about 2.5 miles per hour. So we'll say a mile every 25 minutes or so. 2,200 linear feet is not even half a mile in linear feet. It's 5,260 feet in a mile. Because our system of measurement sucks. It just sucks. So I'm curious as to what is making that walkthrough so slow to get an average time, or is that blown up? We've gotten time estimates before like that, and been extremely disappointed on the other end when we actually checked our watch.
Yeah.
On what we got. But yeah, I can't find any info on square feet. Other contenders to that crown include Erebus, who held the record, that actual same record, for 4 years between 2005 and 2009. It has over 100,000 square feet, though they say about 70,000 of that is for storing props. We personally know Waterloo Sportsman Club. Mm-hmm. We know that was a 2-mile hike.
Yeah.
It was a very long trail, many times the linear feet. However, it's an outdoor trail. That's kind of a cheat code.
Yeah, it is.
You can change the path in the woods pretty easily. You don't have to build anything.
Terror on the Coast, right
near us. Once again, another one we're familiar with.
Yeah. Boasts 87,000 square feet, but it only has a tiny 10-minute walkthrough.
Yeah, both of the times we went through it and we reviewed it, the walkthrough was like 10 to 12 minutes, despite heavily boasting about how they were an 87,000 square foot haunted attraction. So it's like, yeah, we're huge, and then we get there. You know, the obvious analogy is being disappointed on the first date.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's one of those things. But the problem is where do we go from here, right? Mm-hmm. Because the reality of it is, size doesn't mean anything when determining how good, how big, or how scary a haunt is. One of my most memorable haunt experiences when we did the Chicago Lost Souls tour trip was Dead Rising. Mm-hmm. It was a very small haunt. It was actually only a little bit bigger than ours, but they managed to cram a 10-minute walkthrough in the space because it was an interactive haunt, but they stopped you, they did scenes. Mm-hmm. It was a whole big production that required a lot of interactivity.
Right.
And meanwhile, there are other haunts like Terror on the Coast that are fucking huge that we've only squeezed about the same amount of because it was a linear walkthrough with nothing slowing you down and stopping you and nothing encouraging, not giving you a reason to spend any more time anywhere.
Well, that and they didn't want you to go slow through it.
Yeah, they were constantly hurrying you.
Yeah.
So yeah, it means nothing in terms of how much you get. The only thing I think is a fair comparison is walkthrough times, but that has to be apples to apples.
Yeah.
We can compare walkthrough times of the various haunts in the area because we walk about the same pace at all haunts.
Yeah, exactly.
But our walkthrough time is going to mean jack shit when comparing it to, say, an Atlanta haunt, unless we're doing both in the same year. So, anyways. But even if size did mean something when it came to the quality of the haunt or to the value of the haunt or whatever, there are some severe limitations on how big a haunt can get. Mm-hmm. And the one that is definitely the hard cap is humans, especially non-athletic humans, have a pretty finite limit on how far they can walk and especially call that activity enjoyable.
Yeah.
And I got to admit, when I read that 45 to 55 minute walkthrough, my first thought was, Jesus Christ, I hope not. You got to bench halfway?
That was not my first thought.
What was yours?
It's like, I was excited about it and would want to go, but I also realized that, not everybody wants that. I also have suspicion about.
Oh, I'm pressing X hard.
Is actually that long?
Yeah. I'm pressing X hard on that too. I agree. But if it is, it's like, dude, a lot of people are going to want breaks at some point in that. Mm-hmm. An hour on your feet, not even a stool to sit on. That's rough. That can be rough. Mm-hmm. And my first thought when I saw that time was like, God, Jesus Christ, better bring the good boots.
Yeah.
The ones I'm meant to be on my feet a while for, better bring them. But the other problem is that it's also very expensive to manage and to build that large of a haunt. Even if you get an existing building, maintenance, management of it, organizing people across that, it gets to be a logistic nightmare. And so it's so much easier to take one big space and break it up into a bunch of semi-autonomous smaller spaces.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the direction I'm heading because the thing is, it's wasteful. Why would you sell one ticket when you can sell 3?
Exactly.
Because here's the thing, you charge $40 for a huge attraction, we'll say. Mm-hmm. Well, what would happen if you broke it up into 5 $10 attractions?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm just saying. Or 3 $20 ones.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
You made more money.
Yeah, make haunted attraction theme parks, basically.
Yeah, and that's kind of been a trend in some circles. In some places, like Houston, that was a big trend. Mm-hmm. But we're not seeing that so much here, for example. Well, I take that back. With Rise, we're seeing it. With Rise again, we're seeing it. But other haunts seem to be really doubling down on just making the biggest, baddest haunt they can. Mm-hmm. And like some places, like Mortuary, they kind of have to.
Yeah.
Mortuary's got limitations that are beyond that. But there are other places that could do more. But this is actually weirdly an area I agree with Leonard Pickle. Like, I don't agree with Leonard Pickle on a lot.
You've said.
I've said that repeatedly, but this is something I'm totally with him on. You're better off having 3 smaller attractions than one huge one. Now, they must actually be separate attractions, though.
Yeah.
From a logistics standpoint, they have to be run semi-independently.
Right. You have to be tickets for each, and you have to have lines for each.
Yes.
Or a way to enter and exit. You don't have to have a line because, as we've talked about, you can have other ways to entertain people.
Whatever your queue is, it needs to allow you separate entrance into each of these. And that's one of the things I really like. Rise gets this one right too, because if you go to Rise, you can buy a ticket just for the hayride. You can buy a ticket just for the asylum, and you can buy a ticket just for the big house. You can buy any two. You can buy all three. Totally optional. Everything works, right?
Yeah.
You can buy it. And so that way, if you wanted to be a complete mad lad, you can make the drive to Rise, get on nothing but the hayride, and leave.
Yeah.
There's
I have no idea why you would.
There's nothing stopping you from being an absolute terrorist and doing that.
Yeah.
You mad bastard.
Yeah.
But alternatively, you could get a ticket just for the asylum. And then leave. That I might understand. Because the asylum is, I think, the more interesting single attraction. I do like the big house, and I do like the hayride, too. We're poking a little fun here.
Yeah.
But I definitely think that the hayride is the weaker of the three right now.
Yeah.
But you can do that. And meanwhile, in Houston, they had the problem of, we have 4 haunted attractions.
Yeah.
And what you do is you buy one ticket, you get in a queue, go through one haunt, and then you either do wait in another queue or don't. And then you go into the next one and the next one. Sometimes it's like, oh shit, are we in a different haunt now? Does this count as the second? Is this the second or the third? And we're sitting there trying to figure out where the fuck we are.
Yeah, but there's no getting out of the queue unless you get out for good.
Yeah, I don't want to do the mental hospital one. I just want to do the clown room. Once again, you mad bastard.
Yeah.
If you say that, you absolutely should be able to do that. You could not do that in a lot of haunts, though. And so I think I feel very deeply that most haunts would benefit from breaking up a giant single attraction into 3 or 4 bite-ish size ones. I mean, there's a delicate balance here. It's got to be enough to feel like a complete attraction.
Yeah, and I think that it's easier to have cohesive story and quality of haunt in smaller attractions than spread over big ones.
Like, once again, and this is getting to be an old song, comparing Rise to 13th Gate. Rise has a very cohesive story it tells through its haunt.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know what the fuck the Hayride's doing for the story. I haven't figured that one out. But the Rise and the Risewell Asylum marry each other pretty well.
They do.
They overlap, but they're two very different stories and very different experiences. They just, like the Marvel Universe.
Yeah.
They exist side by side, and they make references to one another. And it's very, like I said, I haven't figured out what the fuck the Hayride's doing.
Well, I think that was a relative who did experiments.
Yeah, and I think, and I do remember something about it, but
I really think that's
I lost the plot on that one.
Well, yeah, there's a lot going on, and it's really loud. The first room, where they're telling the story and setting up.
So yeah, I don't know, but then again, I might be deaf and not have heard it.
Yeah.
But meanwhile, 13th Gate has no cohesive story. Still a great haunt, but no cohesive story. And I think part of that is because they're so big. They can't do any one thing all the way through it.
Yeah.
Like, I think that old England section that you had for a while there, or I don't know, might still have, I don't know, that could have just been its own haunt.
Yeah.
The Jack the Ripper themed haunt?
Yeah.
That could have been its own thing. Easy peasy.
Well, and it kind of feels like that. It feels like you're going through different mini haunts inside of one big building.
But it completely destroys your cohesiveness, especially when you get to the farting woolly mammoth.
Yeah, I've never understood that, and I kind of hate him.
I've always kind of been fond of it, but I'm also completely admitting that it fucks up whatever flow is going on there.
Yeah. I'm sure it's one of those weird little hallways that you have trouble, like, putting shit in.
Yeah, and I do love the fact that in that room, it's an ice cave. They did manage to make it feel silly cold. They do a great deal with the ambiance in the room, but you're right. But yeah, it completely fucks up whatever flow is going on around it. It really does stick out, and it's kind of weird in that regard. But I don't know. Maybe I'm 12. I like the farting mammoth. Okay, no. Now that I say it out loud, I'm definitely 12.
Yeah.
Definitely am 12. But yeah, I mean, honestly, I think that's the way to go. Another alternative, though, is to set up your space as a midway or other customer-making operations. This is something 13th Gate is doing, as they are building out midway side carnival games, mini escape rooms, MINI,
Yeah.
escape rooms, VR. We're going to need to talk about that one.
Yeah.
And
they have axe throwing.
Yeah, and axe throwing and other things there.
Yeah.
So they've shifted that to that side of it. And I think that's fine, too. They took out the attraction that was their secondary one.
Mm-hmm. Necropolis.
Necropolis, thank you. It was an N word, and it meant tombs. What the fuck?
Yeah.
Jonathan, you know this. Necropolis, thank you. Necropolis 13. They took it out and put the Midway up. And the first time I talked to them about it after, we're like, wait, this is all Necropolis was?
Mm-hmm.
Because the Midway does not feel big.
Yeah, it doesn't.
It is actually really impressive that they got a haunt that length in that space. I'm actually really impressed by that. Mm-hmm. But regardless, it is now a Midway now, and I think that's a fine pivot.
Yeah. I am going to throw out a bonus thing.
Oh, okay. Another dead end. Bonus 6 one. Will not be in the notes.
So it's just getting started. There's only been a couple of them mentioned. But these conglomerate haunts that buy haunts and then rebrand it as their own all over the country.
Okay, so you're talking about what happened with New Orleans Nightmare, for example.
Yeah, exactly. I think that the companies like that, it's not a bad idea, but I don't think it's structured correctly. And I think that it's going to suffer because of that. And because these are the first ones doing it, and it's getting a reputation of giving a less than experience.
A less than experience compared to what was before.
Exactly. A washed out kind of experience.
Like, New Orleans Nightmare is still a good haunt. I would still recommend it highly. But compared to House of Shock, which is what they bought, it's, like you said, a more washed out, faded experience. And
I think that the fans will, if you were a fan of House of Shock and you go to what it is now, you're not going to go to another one owned by that company.
Yeah.
Because you're going to expect it to be the same kind of thing.
And that may not be a huge deal for the corporation because they're mostly tapping into local markets anyways. Mm-hmm. Like, we've never been to Nashville Nightmare.
Yeah.
May never go because of this, but we're, like, weird.
Yeah.
We need to understand that we're weird.
Now, like, what I would like to see, though, is the giant haunts build out in other states and have, like, franchisees. Under the direction of, the owner who made it big and up to their standards and stuff, so that it gives you the full kind of experience, but in your location instead of having to travel to them.
Yeah. And I know why 13th Floor does that with the marketing. Mm-hmm. And that's because one of the things they're trying to do is consolidate the marketing so one team can do the marketing for all the haunts across the country.
Yeah.
And having similar names really helps things. But when you start taking creative control of marketing and public perception away from the people on the ground,
and of the creative control of the haunt itself.
Yeah, in many cases. I mean, there have been differing reports about how much creative control is given up. But I know some cases there's been some pretty big sacrifices there. Mm-hmm. You're robbing it. I think there's a real possibility for these conglomerates to do this right.
Yeah.
To buy the haunts and just say, okay, here's your budget. Mm-hmm. Here, we'll handle the marketing, social media. We'll handle the back office stuff that is so difficult for a lot of haunts to do.
Yeah, we take X percentage of the profits or whatever. Instead of buying
no, we own this now.
Okay.
But it's going to be managed and run by and creatively controlled by the person there.
Yeah.
No, we own this. We're going to get the profits from it. And we're going to do all the back channel stuff to make it hard. And but you're going to continue running it just like you did.
Yeah.
I think there is a way that could work.
Like I said, I think that I agree. I think there's a way it can work. I don't think it's working right now.
No, not yet. And I think that is one of the problems is we are such a creative industry. Creativity in large corporations have a history of mixing, kind of like water and electricity. Mm-hmm. They mix really well, but with deadly results.
Yeah.
But anyways, on that note, everyone, thank you very much for spending the past 50-odd minutes with us. Greatly appreciate it. Sorry again to be late this week. We do hope you understand. Please do check out more Haunt Weekly at hauntweekly.com, Haunt Weekly on Twitter, Haunt Weekly on Facebook, and youtube.com/hauntweekly. Plus, wherever you get your podcast. We're not that difficult to find, I keep getting told. We're actually easy to find. Find us at all those places. Please take a minute and do so. And until next time, I'm Jonathan.
I'm Crystal.
And we will see you all next week. Hopefully with a timely episode. On time.
Yeah.
On time episode. We'll see y'all then.